Okay, so the Steelers 3-2, coming off a huge win against their bitter rival, the Baltimore Ravens. Every time the Ravens and Steelers go head to head, you know it's going to be a knockdown, slugfest, weird result of a game. And the Steelers have just found themselves in a number of weird result games dating back to last year. Kyle, I know that you are just mesmerized by what is going on in Pittsburgh. We start off week 1. We think they're one of the worst teams in the league. And here they are again, 3-2 with 2 wins against division rivals. It's insane, man. Hail to Mike Tomlin.
It'd be so infuriating to be a Baltimore Ravens fan because the Baltimore Ravens are clearly good. All of the evidence and all of the data backs up. The Ravens are a good team. It just has to be so infuriating that in that game where they should have scored like 34 points, had 2 dropped touchdowns that led to 0 points on drives. Like, being a Ravens fan just has to be so infuriating at this point because Pittsburgh, I don't understand how Pittsburgh won that game. Not even a little. I don't even understand how Pittsburgh wins any of these games.
Can I give you an answer?
I look up.
Can I give you an answer? It's TJ Watt. What TJ Watt is doing for that team, he is single-handedly winning them some of these games. Heck, even in the Niners game, he was out there forcing fumbles, 2 sacks. Brock Purdy has looked amazing for the majority of this year. And the only time I think I've seen him look human this year is when TJ Watt was chasing after him. And that's what's happening right now in Pittsburgh. What the potential DPOY this year is doing in Watt has been nothing short of sensational.
But Juju, you know what the craziest part is going into the Ravens game, the Steelers were 29th in passing defense. They were 26th in rushing defense. Like, the Steelers defense isn't good. And yet they somehow just keep winning these ridiculous games with pick sixes and turnovers in the red zone. Honestly, it's baffling. The Steelers are 9-4 in their last 13 games going back to last year. A team that I said before they went 9-4 was terrible. I said the whole purpose of last season was to develop Kenny Pickett. And somehow, despite the fact that we have no evidence that Kenny Pickett is an NFL quarterback, they have gone 9-4 in their last 13 games. And they've only scored 23 points on offense in like 3 of those games. Like, I simply don't understand how the Steelers are doing this.
In spite of Matt Canada, it goes kind of into the Patriots territory where I kind of feel as though, do I give Bill Belichick credit for being able to overcome the bad roster that he himself has built? Well, do I give Mike Tomlin credit for being able to overcome the OC that he's installed in his own team? The fact that he's hired Matt Canada and said, you know what, I'm going to keep this guy. I think the evidence is in that Matt Canada is at best one of the most mid coordinators in the league, at worst a guy that doesn't belong in the league. And I think he's closer to does not belong in the league as an offensive play caller. Did you see the video that was trending of him almost disappointed on Kenny Pickett's game-winning touchdown, as if he was upset that Kenny Pickett called the wrong play and it ended up being a touchdown? He's like, damn it, I wanted to kick a field goal on this drive. What? Like, what is this? What is going on there?
Matt Canada is verifiable proof. And I said this last year when everyone was trying to hire Cliff Kingsbury. I'm like, there's just not enough offensive coordinators in the NFL, just not enough people who know how to call plays in the NFL. And Matt Canada is verifiable proof of that. The Steelers have been like the 30th ranked offense this season and still are 3-2. Their defense hasn't even been that good at stopping teams from moving down the field. And yet they're still 3-2. I don't know whether they're going to keep this going in that direction, but they've now won games against both divisional opponents who you would have said were probably better than Pittsburgh. By the way, this is coming from someone who said at the start of the year, I thought Pittsburgh was going to win 11 games or 10 games this year. Their over-under was 9.5. I thought they would exceed the 9.5. I didn't think they'd do it while having a below-average offense and a below-average defense. Like, I didn't think that was the equation for getting there. I thought Najee Harris was going to be fantastic this year. Yeah. He has been quietly like the most disappointing player in the NFL this season, just giving you nothing for a first round running back we all know is super talented, and yet they're still 3-2.
Well, I mean, okay, let's break apart how they got to this 3-2 mark. So again, I mentioned in week one, they got torn apart by the Niners. It was kind of an expected result, although I did give them a little bit of a chance in that game because I said week one, every team gets amped up for week one. So there's a chance that they could win this game. I was completely wrong, and I was satisfied that I was wrong because the Niners rolled in that game. Okay, so you go into week two, right? So Steelers, they need a win. They desperately need a win. Enter their favorite punching bag, the Cleveland Browns. And Deshaun has started picking up over the last couple weeks, aside from like he missed last week because of injury, whatever happened there. But still, he hadn't quite figured it out yet. That Monday night game, I want to say it was Monday night, right? Just an awful kind of middling performance by both teams, but they won the ugly scrap fest that was. Okay. Then you go to the Raiders. Josh McDaniels forgets how to math. That's essentially what happens in that game. Oh, you mean I'm down 8? Let me just kick a field goal. He pulled a Matt Canada there. That's what Josh McDaniels did, essentially. Josh McDaniels
Big
forgot how to do math,
energy.
forgot how to math, and the Steelers ended up winning that game, albeit they had a huge lead. So I'm not going to completely dismay that. The Raiders were in comeback mode anyway. Houston, see, I don't know what happened to Houston, but at this point, I'm ready to start to say that CJ Stroud is really good at football. So I think that we may just be seeing a young quarterback ascend, and the Steelers were the victim of that result. So going to week 5, I mentioned it, it's Baltimore. It's a division opponent. We've seen Baltimore and Pittsburgh go neck and neck for years. It doesn't matter how good Baltimore or how bad the Steelers are or how good the Steelers are and how bad Baltimore is. You know it's going to be a close game. That's what we got in week 5. The Steelers ended up winning it. And as you mentioned, if you're Baltimore, you're just left hanging your head, scratching it, wondering what the hell is going on right now with my team. But the Steelers here 3-2. So they get the bye week, right? They come back, Rams, Jaguars, Titans. You know, I mean, these are 3 good teams in their own right. I mean, but I think 2-1 is doable in that stretch. And suddenly we're talking about a 5-3 team that's still in front in the AFC North.
It's funny, first of all, that you said that about the Texans, because my entire analysis of the Texans is CJ Stroud's pretty good, huh? And your entire analysis was CJ Stroud's a pretty good quarterback. So yeah, we both believe the exact same thing about the Texans, which is just CJ Stroud's pretty good. From the Steelers' standpoint, the thing that was so weird about this result in particular is Baltimore was so much clearly a better team than them. From start to finish, Baltimore clearly had more talented players, despite the fact a third of their team was injured. Baltimore clearly was doing what they wanted on offense. And somehow the last, what would that be, 37 minutes of the game, they had 0 points, despite the fact they were consistently in the red zone, despite the fact they had receivers open in the end zone that dropped passes. Somehow they scored 0 points in the final 37 minutes of that game, which it didn't make any sense. I mean, they had 3 turnovers. Lamar fumbled the ball in the red zone. They had a turnover on downs. 5 times they had the ball in Pittsburgh's side of the field. It resulted in 0 points. That's the thing that's made it so difficult to wrap my head around, is just that Baltimore is so much clearly a better team than Pittsburgh, and it just didn't matter. And I mean, you mentioned the next opponents for Pittsburgh, and it was I believe it's the Rams, the Jaguars, and the Titans. Those are all games that I say off the top of my head, the Steelers will be underdogs. And yet at the same time, those are all winnable games for Pittsburgh. So a team that, according to my favorite stat, SRS ranking, is exactly mid right now, like the most mid team in the NFL, is 3-2. And there's no reason I can't see them getting to 5-3 at the end of that month of October, coming off the bye week. I see no reason they can't be 5-3 going into November, and 5-3 just might get them first place or a share of first place in the AFC North.
Yeah, because no one's taking control in this AFC North at the moment. We see this 2-3 Bengals team that, who knows if Burrow's injury is going to become a thing again. Obviously, he looked great against the Cardinals, but I mean, the Cardinals looking great against the Cardinals should not be something that you're super jazzed about. I mean, that should be an expectation if you're a team that entered the year with Super Bowl aspirations like the Cincinnati Bengals did. And I don't know if that's going to be a reoccurring issue. Obviously, you proved you could beat Baltimore. You mentioned all the weirdness that happened in that game on Baltimore's front, but if the Steelers can prove that they've beaten Baltimore, which they have, then there's no reason I shouldn't believe that you could beat them again. Then the Browns, great defense, which Deshaun Watson are we going to see? I think in division, seeing what the Steelers are doing, I would be encouraged if I was a fan that they were able to survive the first 5 games of the season and go into the bye week 3-2. And now coming off this bye week too, right? You get a chance to kind of re-energize, say, okay, we won the first quarter of the season here for us, right? We won the first half of the season before the bye week going 3-2. We have a winning record to this. Why can't we just be a winning team again? And again, I just can't help but mention the Mike Tomlin stat. It's just so fascinating. A coach that just has not had a losing record in the NFL, and it's looking like he's bound to do it again.
And everything you just said is why we made it back to the place that I started this thing. It must be so goddamn infuriating to be a Baltimore Ravens fan right now, because you see all the evidence that this team is so good. They beat the crap out of the Texans, a Texans team that beat the crap out of the Steelers. You've seen the evidence. They were better than the Steelers all game long. This is why it must be so infuriating to be Baltimore, because you know that your team is great, and you also know that your team is not great enough. And that's kind of been the story of Baltimore for the last 4 seasons now. Your team is great. You have all this talent up and down the roster, and you're also not great enough because you know injuries are going to get in the way, and you know there's going to be a timely dropped pass or a timely fumble or a timely interception that ends up costing you the game. Like, it's just got to be so infuriating to be a Baltimore Ravens fan at this point, because they are the best team in that division running away. The Bengals don't look like this just because Joe Burrow is hurt. There are other things that have come back to bite Cincinnati. Cleveland, I don't think they're good enough. Baltimore is clearly best team in this division, and yet Pittsburgh's in first place. Again, it's got to be infuriating to be a Baltimore fan, and it's got to feel great at this point to be Pittsburgh, because not only are you 3-2, the 2 results that you flipped that you should have lost came against your division opponents, right? They should have lost that Monday night game, and they should have lost to Baltimore, and you flip those L's into dubs, and it's a season-changing result for you.
And if you're a Steelers fan and you're thinking about, like, what can this team do to get better, just trying to figure out, like, where is the spots that they can fix. You mentioned their defense has been underperforming this season. Who is that piece that we go and get that can make them better, right? Can I get another edge rusher alongside TJ Watt? Can I get a Brian Burns if he's available on the trade market? That would be outstanding. I still think that they should fix up their offensive line if possible. If there's any talented offensive linemen, they could just give Kenny Pickett any more time to work. I think that should be a priority. I still think this team could benefit from another pass catcher. As exciting as I think George Pickens is, and they had to go this last week without Freiermuth, I feel as though if there is any improvements that can be made from a playmaking standpoint, I think that that's really what the Steelers need. They need a playmaker, because you mentioned Najee Harris and his inability to be that on this team when it looked like he could have been an all-world playmaker, 3-down running back a couple years ago. Since he's not that, I need someone like that. That's kind of like where the Steelers team is, because as we mentioned, they are in the mid. They are just firmly in the mid of the NFL, but I think that there are moves to be had that could elevate them and truly define them as a AFC North favorite contender, right? If they could just make those incremental moves that their division opponents aren't making, I think that there's still hope for the Steelers team to elevate themselves from the mid to a true definitive playoff team.
I'm not ready to completely write off Najee Harris yet. Like, if you think they're short a playmaker, that's Najee Harris. Like, that is the person who should be that playmaker. He should be someone who can break off explosive plays, someone they can use in the passing game other than Jalen Samuels. Like, I'm not ready to write off Najee Harris completely yet. Part of that is because he's on my fantasy team, but also I believe in Najee Harris because he's just the greatest physical specimen at the position. I used to say since Derrick Henry, now that Bijan Robinson's in there, like, those are like the physical specimens that are so unique in the sport. On the defensive side of the ball, I agree with you. Minkah Fitzpatrick has not been the player that he was 3 or 4 years ago when they were 12-0 to start the season. Devin didn't turn into something. He's now gone. On defense, I think they probably need a piece or two still. On offense, I think it's just a byproduct of they're not using the pieces in the kitchen correctly. I mean, it sucks that Deontay Johnson got hurt, and maybe they could use like a third receiver in a trade, go and get like a Josh Reynolds or something. But I think the offensively, the pieces are there. They're just not really putting them together correctly. And maybe part of that's Kenny Pickett. Maybe part of that's Matt Canada. I don't know exactly what it is, but on defense, I think I agree with you. I think they're one or two pieces away on defense from having a unit as good as they had a couple of years ago.
Just looking around here, trying to find a Deontay Johnson update. I'm pretty sure he wasn't hurt for the entire year. I think there's a chance they might actually get him back. Correct me if I'm wrong, but have you seen a new report yet on his status?
I just know he went on injured reserve, which is, I think, 6 weeks now.
Yeah,
So
targeting week 6 return. Okay, so that's kind of like where the Steelers are. So, hey, you get a bye week here. So if you get Deontay Johnson back, that's going to be great. But one thing I would say about Deontay Johnson is I still don't think he fits that mold of playmaker I'm talking about. Like, again, Pickens is outstanding. I think Pickens is a playmaker, but I think they just need more explosion in this offense. And again, part of that is Matt Canada sucks. That's just part of that is Matt Canada's ability to coach this offense. And that's not getting fixed this year. It's been very evident that the Steelers have no intention of moving off of Matt Canada. So we just progress through the season. That's what Steelers fans have had to begrudgingly do as fans, is cheer for this team, knowing damn well Matt Canada is going to be calling their plays. So I feel sorry for anyone that wears the yellow and black because of that.
So here's the best example I can give you. George Pickens should be their DK Metcalf. Deontay Johnson should be their Tyler Lockett. That's what that offense should look like if they had a competent coordinator and a quarterback that was capable of running the offense in a way that gets those players the same level of production as those two guys. You may forget Deontay Johnson was a Pro Bowler with the rotting corpse of Ben Roethlisberger one of those seasons. So Deontay Johnson has the ability and the skill set. They should be DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett in Pittsburgh. They are not that, because that offense is constipated. I don't know how they fix it. I don't know if it's Pickett. I don't know if it's Canada. I don't know if it's Najee Harris. I don't know what the combination is, but I think they have the pieces on offense to have at least a competent offense. They should not be ranked 30th in the league on offense. That is definitely the truth. I don't think they could be like a top 10 offense. They should be competent.
I can agree with that. I think most Steelers fans will agree with that. If you do agree with that, let us know in the comment section. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to our channel, follow us on all our social medias. From Juju and Kyle, stay safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you next time.